All right. Good going. Good evening and welcome to the October 14th meeting of the Fairfax County Park Authority. I'm Bill Bowie, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. To conduct this meeting wholly electronically and to effectuate both the emergency procedures authorized by FOIA and the emergency ordinance, the Park Authority Board needs to make certain findings and determinations for the record, as we did at our first electronic meeting. During our meeting, if you wish to be recognized, please raise your hand, and when I recognize you, say your name. This will ensure that you are recognized and the public knows who is speaking. If you intend to vote nay or abstain on any item, we will need to do a roll call on those votes. Because each member of this board is participating in this meeting from a separate location, we must verify that a quorum of members participating and that each member's voice is clear, audible, and at an appropriate volume for all other members to hear. Accordingly, I'm going to conduct a roll call and ask each board member participating in this meeting to state your name and the location from which you are participating. I ask that each of you pay close attention to ensure that you can each hear each one of your colleagues. And following this roll call, we will vote to establish that every member can hear every other member, and we will begin by going alphabetically. Dr. Adu.
Abna Adu, participating from my residence in Lee District.
Dr. Carter.
This is Cynthia Jacobs Carter, and I'm participating from my residence in Lee District.
Maggie Godbold.
Maggie Godbold, and I'm participating from my residence in the Sully District.
Linwood Gorham.
This is Linwood Gorham, and I'm participating from my residence in the Mount Vernon District.
Tim Hackman.
Tim Hackman, participating from my residence in the Drainsville District.
Ron Kendall.
Ron Kendall, what's the word?
Participating.
From my home in Mason District. I'm on the phone, guys. Computer isn't working right now.
Faisal Khan at my residence in Providence District.
Ken Quincy.
Ken Quincy, participating in my residence in the Providence District.
Kyle Stone.
Kyle Stone, participating from my residence in the Braddock District.
Michael Thompson.
Mike Thompson, participating from Washington, D.C.
And I think Jim Zook is absent and excused at this point unless he joins in. I am Bill Bowie, and I am at my residence in the Hunter Mill District. At this point, I will pass the virtual gavel to Vice Chairman Quincy so that I may be heard to make the requisite motion. I move that each member's voice may be adequately heard by each other member of the board.
Ken Quincy, you have heard the motion. Is there a second?
Mike Thompson, I second the motion.
Ken Quincy, it has been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. The motion passes.
Thank you. This is Bill Bowie. Second, having established that each member's voice may be heard by every other member, we must establish the nature of the emergency that compels these emergency procedures. The fact that we are meeting electronically, what type of electronic communication is being used, and how we have arranged for public access to this meeting. Therefore, I move that the state of emergency caused by the COVID-19 pandemic makes it unsafe for this board to physically assemble and unsafe for the public to physically attend any such meeting. And that as such, FOIA's usual procedures, which require the physical assembly of this board and the physical presence of the public, cannot be implemented safely or practically. I further move that this board may conduct this meeting electronically through a dedicated video conference. It is so moved.
Ken Quincy, you have heard the motion. Is there a second?
Tim Hackman, I second the motion.
Ken Quincy, is there discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. Mr. Chairman, the motion passes.
Thank you, sir. Bill Bowie. Finally, it is required that all matters addressed on today's agenda must address the state of emergency itself, or are statutorily required or necessary to continue operations and the discharge of this board's lawful purpose, duties, and responsibilities. It is so moved.
Ken Quincy, you have heard the motion. Is there a second?
Mike Thompson, and I second the motion.
Ken Quincy, is there discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Mr. Chairman, the motion passes.
Thank you, Ken. This is Bill Bowie. So now that the preliminaries are over, we can now begin the meeting, and thank you for your cooperation. Administrative items, admin item number 1, countywide, is the adoption of the minutes of the September 23rd, 2020 Park Authority Board meeting.
Second. Ken
All
Quincy.
those in favor, all of those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say
Aye.
nay. The motion carries. Countywide admin item number 2 is the Park Authority Board schedule for calendar year 2021.
All right, Ken Quincy, I second the motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. The motion carries. Okay, action items. In the Lee, Springfield, and Providence District, A1, scope approval, grouped athletic field irrigation replacements for Beulah, Greenbrier, and Nottoway Parks.
Ken Quincy, I make a motion to approve the grouped athletic field irrigation replacement projects at Beulah, Greenbrier, and Nottoway Parks.
Mike Thompson, I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Countywide, action item number 2 is the capital improvement program, FY 2022 through FY 2026.
Ken Quincy, I move to approve the capital improvement program for FY 22 through FY 2026.
Is there? I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead.
Mike Thompson, and I second the motion.
Is there any discussion or the need for a presentation of this particular item?
Not for me.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Countywide A3 is the bond premium reallocation for system replacements at various facilities.
Ken Quincy, I move to approve the bond premium reallocation for system replacements at these facilities.
Maggie Godbold, second the motion.
Is there any discussion? Sarah, did you want to introduce something?
Sure. Sarah Baldwin, Deputy Director. This funding allows us to continue to reinvest in renovations and system replacements at revenue fund facilities. You may remember you allocated bond premium last year about this time, and that funding has been used to reinvest in system replacements, new HVAC system, chillers, pool pumps at various rec centers. So our plan will be the same with the funding this year to continue to reinvest in those facilities.
Great. Thank you. Any additional discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. The motion carries. Information item number 1, countywide, is the active Fairfax Transportation Plan by the Fairfax Department of Transportation with a presentation. So Ryan Stewart.
Mr. Chairman, this is Ryan Stewart, long-range planner with the Fairfax County Park Authority. With me this evening are Mr. Chris Wells, the Active Transportation Program Manager, and Nicole Wyans, Active Transportation Planner with the Fairfax County Department of Transportation. Now I'll turn it over to Nicole for the presentation.
Thank you very much. This is Nicole Winans. Are you able to hear me okay?
Yeah, if you could speak up a little, turn your volume up just a little bit more.
All right, I'll try to speak loud into my computer.
There we go. That's better.
Is that better? Great.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you so much for having me today. So yeah, my name is Nicole Winans. I'm with the Fairfax County Department of Transportation. and I'm going to present today about the Active Fairfax Transportation Plan project, which is led by FCDOT in close coordination with the Park Authority staff and other county staff. I guess I just say next slide, because I don't control the slides. Thank you. So a little bit about the project, since it's the first time I'm presenting you today about this effort. So this project came along because we have multiple plans in Fairfax County that guide comprehensive planning for trails and bicycle facilities in Fairfax County, both along the VDOT right-of-way, but also through parkland and other lands within the county. So we have the countywide trails plan that you're familiar with. It was first approved in 1976 by the Fairfax County Park Authority, and it has since transitioned to the Fairfax County Department of Transportation and was last updated in 2018. Fairfax County also has a bicycle master plan, which was adopted in 2014, which also has trails that go through parkland included. And then there are area plans for the activity centers in Fairfax County that also include bicycle and pedestrian recommendations. You're also familiar with the public facility manual that provide the design guidance for trails on Park Authority land. And next slide, please. Getting the computer closer so you can hear me better. All right, so, okay, thank you. So the facility types and design recommendations that are provided in the current comprehensive plan have been outdated for a while. So it's a great effort to not only adjust where all those different recommendations for trails are located, since there are so many different ones. We have to create a comprehensive plan that includes all these different guidances. So we have one recommendation for each location instead of several locations, and make sure that they are up to standards, particularly in the VDOT right-of-way. On parkland, we are coordinating with the Park Authority through this process on establishing what those design guidelines will be in the future. We have another lack of design guidelines that even though we have all a variety of plans, those are mostly addressing trails and bicycle facilities, but we don't really have a pedestrian element in these plans, particularly on a countywide level. So our effort will add some guidance on pedestrian facilities, particularly at intersections, crosswalk designs, for example, as well as signage. And some of the current routes, or most of the current routes, have been focusing historically on serving commuters to rail stations or activity centers, sometimes through parks, through something called transportation trails, and originally also recreational facilities that had were of particular interest to the region. And through this effort, we have an opportunity to add new trails, for example, to destinations that have previously not been served. For example, schools or parks, improve the access to these daily destinations that we're trying to encourage, the population to use all modes to get there, but also have the opportunity to do so safely. Sometimes if they have no other choice, but also to, enhance that experience. Next slide, please. And recently, Fairfax County joined the Regional Capital Trails Network, which is a new network that has been established over the past few years, first through an advocacy organization, but recently it was actually formalized by the Metropolitan Washington Council of Governments, which adopted the proposed network as the Capital Trails Network, as it's designated, in January 2020. As you can see on this map, it includes trails that are already developed in Fairfax County, but it also includes planned trails. And the goal of this effort is to create a comprehensive trail system, not just in Fairfax, but in the entire region, that provides all these more regional connections to activity centers, but also through parks, and provides an alternative transportation system to our road network. Next slide, please. So the key goals of this project are to, as I mentioned, merge all these different guidance that's currently provided through the comprehensive plan, and also coordinate with neighboring jurisdictions to ensure that where our trails end, that there is a connection on the other side and vice versa. Then we are, as I mentioned, working on connecting destinations and origins to the network that we have previously not addressed in our comprehensive plan. Bring the recommendations for the network up to current standards, particularly within the right-of-way, and provide some design guidance, particularly for trails along the right-of-way along streets. Next slide, please. We're also going to develop a toolkit for the first time that will help us select what type of trail or bike ped facility is appropriate for which context. On the national level, there is just one guideline, very limited flexibility. So we will create a more Fairfax County context-sensitive toolkit that will help us make choices that work within our context, which includes urban as well as suburban and rural environments. We will provide some guidance on increasing pedestrian safety, as I mentioned, but as well as comfort, which can include lighting and trees. And we are going to develop recommendations for programmatic and policy updates that could be implemented after the project is completed. Next slide, please. And this slide shows where we are in this process. So this project is a two-part project. The first part was funded in 2019 with $300,000 by the Board of Supervisors. And we have already requested funding for phase 2. Which we hopefully will be able to complete this project in the next 2 to 3 years. But the first phase, which is fully funded, is estimated to be completed in May 2001. You can see the timeline. I'm sorry, it's a little bit small at the bottom here. So we started this project in July of this year, and we're about a third through. We're working currently on a policy analysis, what's currently in the comprehensive plan, as well as our codes, the PFM, the Public Facility Manual, as well as state guidance. We're also working on developing community engagement strategies, particularly during COVID times. It's going to be a little bit different, but it's very important to us to have an inclusive outreach effort for such an important project. And we're going to develop visions and goals for active transportation and the trail network in Fairfax County. Next slide, please. And that was it. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions, please.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Any questions from the board? Just raise your hand. Ken Quincy? You're on mute. There we go.
A very good presentation. In this overall plan, and my question may be premature, but I'll ask it anyway, will there be an address of separation of pedestrian and bicyclists on especially the major trails? this has been quite an issue on the major trail, WOD being the prime example, for safety reasons primarily.
Yes, so this is Nicole Winans. Thank you for your question. We will look into different type of trail designs for different circumstances. So we have the regional trail network, but even the regional trail network will not necessarily have that capacity that's currently the demand that the WD and also the Mount Vernon Trail are experiencing. So in those cases, it's probably needed to have an alternative design that accommodates a slower and faster users, just like we would do along a road. So Fairfax County is working on separating bikes and pedestrians along Sunrise Valley Drive, as well as New Dominion and Town Center Parkway in Reston, and a similar design could work in a off-street location that has high user volumes.
Okay, thank you.
Ron Kendall?
Yes, actually, this might be more a question for Kirk and or Sarah than for Nicole, but could you talk a little bit about how we are integrating the things that the county is doing within the plans that the Park Authority has, particularly within the bond work that we're, the bond funding that we get for trails on our bond cycles?
So this is Kirk Kincannon, the Executive Director of the Park Authority. Normally, we work very closely with, or I should say regularly, we work very closely with the FCDOT and transportation, and not only the work that they do locally for Fairfax County, but also the work they do considering the VDOT impacts related to road improvements. We have partnered with them for a number of years and will continue. And actually, the new effort has even a stronger partnership. So that work will continue to look at opportunities where we can kind of sync up our collaborative efforts, as we've done with Scotch Run and some of the areas that we're in the process of actually finishing up that were started a couple of years ago. So the work continues.
Any other questions? Well, thank you very much, Nicole. We appreciate it. Be safe.
Thank you.
All right. In the Drainsville district, information item number 2 is the Clemmy, Gentry, Mclean Project for the Arts. And we've got a presentation, and I think Stephanie is going to introduce the project.
Good evening. This is Stephanie Leadham. I am going to introduce Lori Carbonneau, from the Executive Director from the Mclean Project for the Arts, who's going to present an update on the proposed Arts Center at the Leibowitz Home and Property at Clemmy Gentry Park. The last time that the board saw this project was in November of 2019, so just about a year ago. So with that, Lori Carbonneau.
Thank you, Stephanie. This is Lori Carbonneau. I'm an Executive Director of Mclean Project for the Arts, and I'm delighted to be back with the board today and to share with you the progress that we as an organization and we as a team have made in the last year. Next slide, please. Thank you. So again, as Stephanie shared, it was November 19 that we were with you in the county building, which feels like a long time ago at this point. It's nice to actually not be fighting rush hour to get to you, but remarkable that we're not in person, and I appreciate you being able to engage us remotely. So November 19th, we were with you for a presentation to your board, and with that, we returned to our board the following February at our annual meeting, and there was great enthusiasm, and we were commissioned to proceed with an RFP that we issued, and were delighted to be able to complete a site walkthrough right before on March 12th, the day before we went into quarantine shutdown. The precipitating event for that had been a public meeting that was held in the community center, started in our galleries, where members of the public were invited to come and see the work that we do, and then a full briefing in the community center with many of your colleagues from staff. And Board Member Hackman and Supervisor Faust were both there as well. With that February launch and the March RFP, we were able to carry on during these last several months by proceeding with the RFP process, received proposals from 8 different firms, conducted our interviews, and in June, our board approved the selection of the architecture and the engineering firms. Over the summer, those firms helped us take a professional execution on the vision that we had brought forth, designed by our board architects, the members of the board who had volunteered to help us through this design process. And that's the presentation that you would have seen in November. Over the summer, professional firms took that to the next vision, and there are several key changes that came through that process. No changes happened to the program. However, the footprint is sufficiently different that Stephanie Leadham and Amy Vosburn and we totally agree that we wanted the opportunity to come back in front of you all to share with you the footprint and the reasons for the changes from February's public presentation until now. With those changes that we were able to capture in some great slides with help from Doug Tipsword and Stephanie, actually at that point still we were working with Dave Bowden. We took those to Evermay, the neighborhood association who'd been involved with us ever since, gosh, it's been 2.5 years now that we've been working with Evermay. And then of course, Supervisor Faust has seen this as well. And he encouraged us to take this next step with you all. So when Stephanie came on board in September, we were delighted that she and Doug Tipsword and Heather Lynch walked the park with our Director of Exhibitions and Curator Nancy Sasser and myself. And with that, we have compiled the following presentation. So I am happy to move to the next page and share with you a little bit of the from to. These are small on my screen, and I imagine they may be on yours, but let me orient you if I may. The park is oriented, there we go, thanks. The park is oriented slightly to the northeast, and so these are more north and south than you would fully see if you were experiencing the park. Oh, great, thank you for that magic. The left side we described in the February design as one that has more of a classical design architecture feature. You can imagine almost a UVA lawn type. And this represented well what we called this our visual representation of the programming that we had envisioned. Wish I had a pointer. Gosh, you can't see mine. The building that is on the right, just immediately under the arrow that your colleague, there you go, thanks, perfect, is drawing your attention to, is the gallery wing that was actually conceived of in 2 pavilions, north and south of that gray east-west covered walkway. And then on the northwest side of the property were 2 sets of classroom wings. And all of that was meant to surround and to feature the original Leibowitz property, the home, and we envision it staying just as it is and being used as our admin and office environment, given the zoning constraints that we understand that are based on the construction and the age of that home. Around the home, around the major facilities there, you'll see storage and offsite storage and other utility buildings, along with potential downstream growth for artist studios. We believe still that this captures our programming well, and once we engaged the professional architects and engineers, they heard that vision and then translated to that which is on the other side of that arrow. This is great teamwork. Thank you, whomever is working the slide here on the background. This has been combined into one footprint, one building, one continuous building for the following 3 reasons. Firstly, it was identified that there were tremendous safety concerns, safety and security concerns in the distributed, more campus-like environment. Those were things like, it sounds extreme now to say it, and I feel a little naive having thought this was a good idea way back when, but there were 27 exterior doors. And so simply by saying that, you can appreciate that managing security on that would have been a real issue. It unfortunately was also a perfect layout, if you will, for on-site security issues, insofar as there wasn't a single place on site that you could view the entire building. The second reason that the architects with whom we've chosen to work have recommended a single footprint is for the construction and ongoing operating and maintenance costs. In the previous iteration, there would have been 7 different HVAC systems. In this, there is 1. So not only is there the possibility for a single integrated system and more planful maintenance and obviously less capital investment up front, but quite importantly and serendipitously, as good timing would have it, what we now know in the intervening months is that HVAC management and airflow control is critical during and post-COVID. And so we feel quite fortunate that we're in the situation that we can be making COVID anticipatory design intentions now. And then the third reason, and our work with Doug Tipsword helped point this out, is you'll see that the weight of the complex has shifted towards the parking lot that's already there and away from tree canopy. So our sense is that this meets safety reasons, this meets cost reasons, and this meets joint park and MPA objectives of maintaining the natural environment. So we can zoom back out again and look at the comparison A to B now that I've kind of gone into some detail there. By moving the covered walkways interior, there was about a 10% increase in total square footage for the entire property. What that does, though, however, is also dramatically improve the accessibility. So if somebody were coming in by means of a walker or a wheelchair or just carrying a whole bunch of art supplies and pallets and their various equipment, it's going to be a lot more comfortable for them, particularly in inclement weather, to enter at one side of the building and be able to walk to the other, as opposed to navigating those the various exterior doors I mentioned and the covered and uncovered walkways. The other significant change is all of the exterior buildings are now conceived of on an at-grade single space, and so again it creates less disruption throughout the property. There's a lot on that page, and so I'll actually, if I might ask for Chairman Bowie to give me a heads up when you're ready to go to the next page.
I think we're ready.
All right, great. May we please? Super, thanks. So this is a rendering that again shows how the Leibowitz home is at the center of the gallery and the classrooms complex. We call it the Commons building to bring it all together. The gallery wing is on that southeast corner, and the arrow that's pointing into it is the main entrance. It's conceived that ADA parking will be close to that door. And so at grade, you'll be able to enter from a variety of different places in that new parking lot that Heather Lynch and the whole operations team have put into place. The arched way that connects the gallery wing and the classroom wing, right where the Commons building is an architectural element that we've grown very fond of, which feels more natural, right? While the classical environment, the classical design is elegant and distinct and stands on its own, it feels a little bit more organic with this curving space, and will allow for lovely curving walkways and experience being able to see into the courtyard as well as into the classrooms that are on either side of that grade walkway that you can see there. You'll note several other features on this page. First is that the gazebo and the overflow parking and the paths that are currently in place, well, excuse me, the gazebo is not yet built yet, but the overflow parking that's in the current master plan and then the pathways that surround the facility are connected straight through to the rest of the playground. So if you were to park on the south side of our building, you could enjoy the gallery on your way to the playground. And simultaneously, there is an opportunity for that overflow parking as currently envisioned. We are anticipating that at this point, we'll be able to leave it just as grassed overflow parking. The gazebo here is a bit illusory to the point that we know that we're going to want to team with you and your landscape design team on having a single as called for or more gazebos on site. We also imagine those walkways to have public art opportunities throughout not only this part of the park, but north into the playgrounds and in the walkways that go through the entire property. One of the questions that's come up over time is parking. And we have put a considerable amount of time into what we're calling preliminary parking and traffic analysis. We're quite aware that during COVID, traffic measurements right now, as we're all enjoying with less traffic on the road, but would probably not be an apt measurement of what traffic would be in a more normal time. Insofar as we have a 12 to 18 month horizon between now and which we'd be completing the public processes, we're comfortable with having done some deep analysis on publicly available data. The parking that you see here represents the additions that we believe would be required to meet the combined playground plus art center parking. One of the reasons that's so possible is that we're able to plan all of our programming around peak parkland usage. That's what I'd share on this page, and would again invite you all to tell me when you're ready to move to the next.
Move on.
Great. So what's it look like? It's preliminary, as you all would imagine, and would appreciate the lovely watercolor that our architects did here. But this is the view from the north, from the playground, if you will. You will actually see that there's such tree coverage, either current or that which we would add, that would be really quite shielded from the playground area, allowing for the playground to continue to be it's an environment unto itself. Yet at the same time, if families were curious, they could meander through those trees and come and experience the art center. You'll note that the gallery, which is on this side on the left, has a barn roof, and that is inspired by the barn that was there for nearly 3 centuries. And our original hope when we got into this project, golly, 3.5 years ago, it was, oh, I bet we could turn that barn into a barn gallery. But after members of your team assessed what the nature of it was, the barn, frankly, having been built over the course of those 3 centuries, it was not appropriate for us to rehabilitate that space. But we like very much the concept and the placement of the barn, which is why it is that the galleries would be envisioned in that space. You'll note that there's a connector of some sort from the house, again, for ADA opportunities, as well as for foot traffic flow, in order to feel connected. And then the interior of the courtyard, we imagine as a warm and inviting and active space that would allow for the visibility that I was sharing, that we all have great concern over for a safety and a security perspective. I'm ready to move on as you all are.
Sure, absolutely.
Great, thanks. And this is if that was a bird's eye view, this one is the ground level view looking up at that barn gallery. We're excited by the concept that Canon Design brought to this, with the idea of a floating roof. So you have the clear allusion to the agrarian past, but it also brings together the contemporary nature of this environment. One of the things that we love about the side-by-side of the original Leibowitz home with the barn gallery next to it is that it feels like the true embodiment of the marriage of connecting art and community, which is our mission, and the natural marriage of the outdoors and the arts, which is our shared vision and hope for this site.
Okay, great.
All right. Thank you. Moving on to our last slide here. So the anticipated use intensity is something that we've spent an awful lot of time internally understanding, in conversation with your colleagues understanding, and then in conversation with the Evermay community as our chief neighborhood stakeholder, and with Supervisor Faust in his office. On here, you'll see bullet points that share with you what our anticipated use is from a staff perspective, from our classroom perspective, from our exhibition and openings, and then our special events. We have modeled each of those scenarios, and I can share with you more models than you may, as many models as you would like to on this anticipated use. We feel quite confident in that last paragraph and last sentence that the preliminary traffic and analyses do suggest that the moderate additions that we are showing on the rendering page 2 pages ago are adequate and exceed the combined playground and MPA demand even on our busiest events of the year.
Excellent. Excellent
Thank
presentation.
Thank you. It's with a lot of teamwork and appreciation to Stephanie and Amy and her team that I share this.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of work that's gone into this. The only concerns that I have, this is fantastic. But the only concerns I have are really around the parking. The parking is overwhelmed today. I was at the park a week ago, and even the overflow parking, what we thought was overflow parking, was absolutely packed. And so I'm not really sure that overflow parking on the grass is going to work. I think there's a lot of consideration that needs to be taken to that, because that's going to be the biggest concern with park users. And as you know, it's a very, very active and a very, very important park for us. So, Ron?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, have you put any consideration into how you'll power the building? I'm thinking of solar specifically because Fairfax County is making its push to move a lot of its parking lots and lighting systems to solar, and adding a building to this property. I don't know where Clemmy Gentry would be in our plans to turn their parking lots into solar, but this might be one of those footprints where we'd like to consider it.
I love that idea. Thank you for bringing that up. Let me, to go back, I'm confirming that I'm taking notes on the parking, and we will continue to manage that and monitor that as we move forward. On solar, absolutely. We've had that conversation, and preliminary, we've had conversations about how it is that we could be connected with Dominion and the work that they're trying to do. I think this would be a great showcase opportunity for them. I am not technically able to speak to that other than to say it's come up in conversation, and our civil and our architecture teams would be able to proceed more with those details. I'd love the opportunity to come back and share with you or all in whatever detail we can as that goes forward.
This is Stephanie Leadham. I'd like to continue real briefly with the presentation. We actually have one more slide that goes along with the MPA and Clemmy Gentry presentation. If the board doesn't mind us going back to that. Great, thank you. And then if we want to get into more discussion, we're happy to do that. Lori, I just want to thank you for presenting us with the revised concept this evening. And what I want to do is look forward to the steps that the Park Authority would have to take in order to move forward with the master plan update. So this is roughly a 12 to 18 month process, including public input, coming back to the board for approval, and ultimately culminating in the 2232 and special exception process. So as you can see on this timeline on the slide in front of you, we're at the October 20 PAB meeting with the MPA presentation of the revised concept. We'd be moving into a master plan revision kickoff with a public meeting in November of this year, followed by master plan development, which then we would come back to the board with in the beginning of 2021 with the draft master plan. Once that's published, we would go back out to the public to present the draft master plan in the late winter, which would also include a 30-day public comment period, revisions to the draft master plan, and you're looking at next summer, basically coming back to the PAB for approval of that master plan. And then, as I mentioned, the 2232 and special exception process, which could run concurrently over the 6 to 12 months at the end of that timeline. So I know that there was more conversation to be had, but I just wanted to make sure that we all understood that there's a lot more work to be done moving forward and getting into the details of the project.
Thanks, Stephanie. Yeah, there is quite a bit to be done, but it's good to know where we're at this stage of the game, and certainly the public master planning process is going to be a huge part of this. Tim, did you want to comment one more time?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I wanted to say that we are really excited in the Drainsville District about this project and its potential. I think the opportunity to expand and enrich the offerings which we have available at Clemmy through the MPA project is really exciting, and I think it further expands and broadens the vision that Adele Leibowitz had for her property in terms of making it even more accessible in the future for people of a wide range of abilities and strengths. That having been said, we are clearly, as Lori alluded to, having discussions and keeping the neighbors well informed about what is happening. I agree that the parking is an issue. One of the things we have been talking about is trying to make sure that at least for special events, that those are scheduled so as not to align with the diurnal high usage of the park or the playground itself. So that is an area where we are sensitive, and we are focusing on that, and we'll be taking a look at that in the future. But I think one of the strengths again of this program is that we have been engaging the public and the neighbors specifically from a very, very early stage and an ongoing basis. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Tim. Any other comments? Well, thank you very much, Lori and Stephanie. We appreciate it and look forward to further updates.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Be safe. All right. Countywide information item number 3 was the annual fee review calendar for FY 2021. I'm assuming there are no comments or questions on that. Would that be correct? Thank you. So, Chairman's Matters. Get out and vote. Please vote. It's amazing to see all of the people wrapped around the government center and now all of the local regional government centers. All of these people are out there to vote for the park bond, and that is so exciting. That's the thing that's driving turnout this year in Northern Virginia is the park bond. So happy that you guys have been able to get out there and see that and really boost that enthusiasm out there for the park bond. Second thing, I was so sorry to hear about the issue with Audrey Moore. Staff is working on it. They'll continue to keep us involved. It's a critical piece of the services that we provide overall, but specifically to that community. So we need to get that back on board as soon as we can. And with that, I'll pass it on to Kirk.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Kirk Kincannon, Director of the Park Authority here. We appreciate your comments about Audrey Moore and the vandalism that occurred last night. Staff's done a great job of working with police and kind of dialing in that and providing any information that we can to help the perpetrators, as well as clean up the facility and get her back ready for all those things that we do for the community. You noted also the early voting. Our Laurel Hill, Sarah sent me a picture of the Laurel Hill Golf Club today where we have early drop-off voting. It was absolutely packed. So we're seeing that at all the sites. I'm sure we'll continue to see that. So I want to just reemphasize that. Get out and vote for the park bond. Absolutely. The Park Authority continues to show why we're a gold medal agency. We've won another award from the Virginia Recreation and Park Society in the Best Health and Wellness Initiative for our First Hike Fairfax program. This is awards for the calendar year 2019. So congratulations to the team and the staff that was involved in that. We also had 3 Fairfax County parks that are among the region's favorites as chosen by the readers of the Washington Parent magazine this year. Clemmy Gentry Park was a winner in the Fun and Activities Playground category, and Riverbend Nature Center and Burke Lake Park were also finalists in the Fun and Activities Nature Center category. Burke Lake was also honored as a finalist in the Fun and Activities State and Neighborhood Parks category. The honors were based on more than 11,000 votes in the magazine's 2020 Washington Parent Picks contest. A complete listing of the contest winners is available in the October issue of the Washington Parent magazine. Get your copy and save that for your scrapbook. Green Spring is celebrating its first half century, creating Green Spring Gardens and preserving the legacy of the Green Spring Farm. Became a possibility with a gift that was made 50 years ago. On October 26th in 1970, Michael and Belinda Strait gifted the Park Authority with the 1784 historic house and its surrounding 18 acres at that time. Today, the gardens encompass 31 acres. We're going to celebrate this all year long. Each week for 50 weeks, the Park Authority will promote 50 things to love about Green Spring Gardens on its social media channels. Much of the celebration, obviously, that we had planned prior to COVID has been postponed due to the pandemic. However, staff continues to celebrate with the anniversary-related programming and activity. Staff is also working with the Park Foundation to fundraise for a special piece to commemorate the milestone, a moon gate, and a garden. An online giving tree was created and should be launched soon to raise funds for the moon gate. The goal is $100,000. More to come from this special garden with the next 50 years. And as you noted, sir, the election is getting closer, and we remain hopeful that voters will support our $112 million park bond initiative. As you are aware, $100 million of that bond referendum will support our capital improvement program and rebuilding our park system and continuing to make improvements to meet our community's needs. We've continued to have our informational presentations. Judy and her team and others have done an incredible job with our friends groups, community groups, and volunteers, as our website has been visited extensively, and we're getting good traction on our social media posts as well about the bond. Public Information Office is working with our local media to tell our story, and the Park Foundation has funded our signs with hundreds of that are out in the parks now. And thank you, board members, for doing that and getting those park signs out there. More are slated for the polling locations, and others are still available as desired over the next several weeks. We can get some more out. We also work with Channel 16 in the Office of Public Affairs to develop a video about the Parks Bond, and I'm going to ask Hannah to cue that video up. It's a short 3-minute video. We're going to play it for you right now over the next 3 minutes.
All right, let me know if the volume is good.
The Parks Bond totals $112 million. If approved, $100 million would go to the Fairfax County Park Authority, and $12 million would be for the Northern Virginia Regional Park Authority. The Fairfax County Park Authority plans to use funds from the bonds in 4 different categories: park renovations and upgrades, land acquisition and open space preservation, and new park development and natural and cultural resource stewardship. Park renovations and upgrades include playgrounds, athletic fields, rec centers, and various community parks. For example, upgrades to Rockstall Park includes trails, an open play area, nature playground, picnic area, outdoor classroom, and interpretive signs describing important park features. Mount Vernon Woods Park has functioned as a local serving park since it was first developed with facilities in the 1960s. This park would be upgraded with improvements as identified in the 2015 master plan. These new facilities would include a skate park, playground, outdoor gym, sport court, picnic shelter, grass rectangle field, trails, and off-street parking to support active users of the park. Turner Farm Park in Great Falls would expand its parking lot to accommodate space for additional horse trailers. Funds for the land acquisition will be used to expand parks, protect resources, and enhance park services in underserved areas of the county. Bond money would also be used to develop new parks like Patriot Park North, located at the corner of Braddock and Willow Springs School Road. Plans call for completing the development of a diamond field complex supporting county-wide use and tournaments. 4 90-foot diamond baseball fields and 2 50 to 70-foot softball Little League fields would be constructed with synthetic turf and sports lighting. The park would include a press box, restrooms, picnic pavilion, concession, and playground. As another example, Mount Vernon Rec Center's ice rink facility was built in 1979, and bond funds would be used to add a second ice rink. Finally, the bonds would pay for natural and cultural resource stewardship projects, like the Park Authority's museum collections and archaeology facility. The plans call for building a facility to curate and store more than 5,000 museum objects, thousands of archival items, and upwards of 3 million artifacts. Of the $112 million park bonds, $12 million is intended to fund the county's share of the Northern Virginia Regional Park Authority's capital program that focuses on expanding public open space and trails, protecting natural, cultural, and historic resources, improving existing facilities, and providing additional recreational opportunities. In Fairfax County, Nova Parks owns more than 8,000 acres, and it manages more than 100 miles of trails, including the W and OD Trail, which is the most used in Virginia. Some specific bond-funded projects include annually repaving sections of the W and OD Trail and creating a children's garden at Meadowlark.
Thank you, Hannah. So there was a little bit of a lag, obviously, in the video tonight, but you can certainly watch that at your leisure and stream it off your own account at home. But I want to thank Judy and her team for working with Channel 16 and pulling this together. Let us know if we can be an assistance to any of you in your role as Green Team advocates as we near the November 3rd election date, and supporting the efforts to reach to the community and your advocacy. Thanks again, and that's all I have, sir.
Thank you. Judy, can you send the link out to the video to all the board members so we can saturate our social media as much as we've got it? Appreciate it. Thank you. Mr. Kendall?
Well, let me say I hope everybody stays safe. I know we're not linked and locked into home, but at least stay safe for the foreseeable future. Get out and vote. And when you do get out and vote, if you do it in person, wherever you go, thank the folks who are manning those official sites because they're putting themselves in harm's way for us. So thank you and take care.
Appreciate it. Mr. Quincy?
Just a minute.
You're on. You were on.
Not working right.
Now you are.
Yeah. This has been said before, but it deserves being said again, and that's the commendation to the management team and staff for their efforts during these challenging times. I received 2 specific emails this week about the favorable response and timely response from staff on a couple of issues. So, way to go, staff.
Thank you, Ken. Abner?
Nothing. Thank you.
Faisal?
Well, kudos to the staff for putting together a very good presentation and all the good work that you guys do. And don't forget this, vote for the bond.
There you go. Great. The late Jim Zook.
Late.
Thank you. I hope it's not the late Jim Zook, but anyway. Yeah, I just am impressed with what the Park Authority staff has done during this very challenging time, and I thank them for that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Kyle?
Nothing for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Linwood? Linwood?
Sorry, I thought I had a new way to unmute myself and it didn't work that time, the space bar or something, but it didn't work the first time. So that's all I have to say. I pass.
Okay. Maggie?
Yeah, I just want to, I'm glad that everybody is here, and it's good to see everyone. Please stay healthy and stay safe. They say that it's going to get worse, which is kind of scary. And I also would like to recognize all the folks from the park who kept on going as if everything's normal. I mean, the work you guys are doing, it's as if there is no pandemic. So I'm very impressed. That's it. Thanks very much.
Great. Cynthia?
All right. So again, I would like to thank everyone for your support during this difficult time. Your cards and your well wishes are very much appreciated by me and by my family. Also, I wanted to thank Sarah, Judy, and others who have been so busy helping me with Lead District as questions come up from our residents. They've been so responsive, and that goes for everyone, Amy and all. So thank you for the assistance. We have lots of happy people in Lead District thanks to your good work. Thank you. Take care all.
Thank you. Tim?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. While we're talking about cooperation and innovation, I just want to share a specific example. On October 4th, actually, the MPA, the Mclean Project for the Arts, had a benefit concert, 2 benefit concerts at Mclean Community Center, and Lori and I got to welcome the crowd. Innovative and flexible because they set up the cars every other space in the parking lot. People could get out and walk about with masks, or they could sit in their cars and listen to this concert, or sit on the hoods like we used to do at the drive-in movies when I was a kid. And the singers, it was the Voices of Soul, and the singers were lead members who had been with the Platters, the Temptations, the Drifters, the Four Tops. This was my college time. So it was a great concert. It was a beautiful day. And it was Mclean Community Center, MPA, the Park Authority, the Park Foundation, the Showmobile, everybody working together to make this happen. So again, thanks to staff. Thank you all. And I even got to put in a big plug for the Park Bond too.
Great. Thank you, Tim. Mike?
I just want to thank staff for all their work on Braddock Park and hope everybody stays healthy.
Okay. Well, with that, we will now go into closed session.
I move the Park Authority recess and convene in closed session for discussion and consideration of matters enumerated in Virginia Code 2.2-3711 and listed in the agenda for this meeting as follows. The discussion and consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose, or for the disposition of publicly held real property where the discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiated strategy of the public body pursuant to Virginia Code 2.2-3711A3.
Ken Quincy, I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we are now in closed session, and we will be for approximately 20 minutes.
We are now out of closed session, everyone.
Mike?
This is Mike Thompson. I move the Park Authority Board certify to the best of each member's knowledge only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under Virginia Code 2.2-3712 and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting by the board.
Ken Quincy, I second the motion.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Okay. C1.
This is Linwood Gorham. I move the Park Authority Board approve the request authorization of an offer range for item C1 in the Mount Vernon District as discussed in closed session.
Mike Thompson, and I second the motion.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. C2.
This is Cynthia Jacobs Carter. I move that the Park Authority Board add C2 in the Lee District to the work plan as discussed in closed session.
This is Mike Thompson, and I second that motion.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed say nay. All right, good deal. All right, folks. Thank you again, staff. Again, kudos for everything that you do. It's great seeing all of your beautiful faces. Be safe out there, wear a mask, and vote. Have a nice day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Have a good night, everybody. Be safe.